All right, welcome to the Elias Macko Show, second hour of the program. You still got me for 2 more hours as we wrap up the week, heading into the weekend here. Now we're going to start off by taking a look at the ramifications of those proposed tuition increases for universities and out-of-province students at Quebec universities. McGill is already reporting that they're seeing a, quote, catastrophic drop in out-of-province applications to study at the university. The latest number from McGill officials puts that drop at 20%. Of course, this follows all the uncertainty surrounding those tuition hikes. McGill, Concordia, Bishops are still awaiting a response from the Legault government on their alternative plans to these hikes, right? We've seen some reporting that maybe they're considering it, but nothing has come through on that front. And now McGill has said they won't rule out the possibility of moving some of their operations out of province if nothing is done about the proposed tuition plan. And it also threatens to devastate the university's finances and credit rating. On that front, let's go to Michael Yake, Associate Managing Director at Moody's Canada. Michael, welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. Now, Michael, first things first, I'm just dumb radio host. I don't know everything. You have to explain to me why you guys at Moody's, and I hear talk of Moody's and Moody's Canada all the time, why are you so important? What do you do that makes your decisions and your ratings just so influential?
Well, our purpose, I guess, if you want to say it that way, is to provide an independent opinion on the credit strengths of enterprises and institutions like McGill and Concordia, for example. So what we do is we assess their financial health. We take a look at the risks that are there, that they're going to be able to repay debt. And we offer our opinion on their credit quality. And then those people, those institutions that want to lend money to the universities will take a look at our assessments and then judge how risky they see that investment, how risky it will be for them to lend money to an enterprise or to an institution. And then, that influences what interest rate they're looking for. So it's an independent assessment of the risks for the lenders to sort of use and gauge the risk.
So you and your team at Moody's Canada assesses what's happening in Quebec with our institutions, our university institutions. You're saying that the risk is getting higher with decisions like this from the Quebec government.
Exactly. What we're indicating is that the risks have risen. This is a change compared to what we were forecasting several months ago. This announcement was quite unexpected. And what we did actually just the other day is put the ratings under review for a downgrade, for a potential downgrade. And what the under review means is that there is material changes taking place that are impacting the credit rating, but we need more time. We need more information to properly assess the amount of pressure that there is. So we see, as I said, the pressure is rising, but there's so many uncertainties at this point that we don't feel comfortable saying what the rating should be. So the review is sort of indicating that there is this downward pressure, and we're monitoring the situation very closely.
So let's say, now we got to get into a hypothetical here. Let's say you go through the review process, and I guess this can apply to any institution that you're reviewing, and at the end of the review process, it ends up in a downgrade. What is the damage for McGill?
Well, the downgrade, if there was a downgrade, again, the downgrade simply highlights the fact that we see, as an independent organization, we see that the credit risks have risen, that McGill will face difficulty repaying its debt. How the lenders interpret that information is up to them. We don't set the interest rates. We're simply, as I said, we're assessing the credit risk. It's the individual lenders that would then determine how much of a premium they want to place on their borrowings to the universities. But typically what we see is, the lower the credit rating, the higher the interest expense is for the entity to take on debt.
And if you're McGill and you want to finance, new buildings, new projects, this is where it matters, right? Because these universities need to borrow in order to do these things, right?
Exactly. A lot of the capital projects are funded through debt financing. The province does offer a lot of financial support to the universities for both the operations and the capital projects as well. But quite often, exactly when it comes to capital projects, a lot of that is externally sourced, so through bonds or through bank lines or whatever, but through external financing. So this will have an impact on the university's plans going forward on how they were expecting to fund, and the business cases for a number of these projects as well would be dependent on the cost of funding going forward.
We're with Michael Yake, Associate Managing Director of Moody's Canada, talking about the ramifications of a review by Moody's Canada into McGill's credit rating. Let me just ask you this, Michael. Before the review, okay, before the Moody's puts McGill under review and the other Quebec institutions under review, what was the standing in comparison to other similar institutions, other universities in the rest of the country?
McGill McGill is, and I'll use the present because, as I said, we haven't changed the rating at this point. We've simply placed it under review. But McGill has a AA2 rating, which is the third highest rating in our 21 rating scale. It's a very high, what we call investment grade rating. The probability of default is extremely low. It is a nice, solid credit. Compared to the rest of the universities in Canada, that is among the better ratings that we see, not only in Canada, actually, but around the world as well. As I said, a public institution with the third highest rating is a high-quality credit.
And what about the other Anglo institutions, Bishops and McGill, let's say? Are those also under review?
Well, we've placed Concordia. We rate two English universities in Quebec, so we rate McGill and Concordia. We don't rate Bishop, so we're not commenting on them. Yeah. We also rate UQAM as well, but this doesn't seem to be impacting UQAM to the same extent, so we're not looking at them at the moment. So, but we did do the same thing as with McGill for Concordia. We've placed their ratings under review for downgrade as well. And going into, in advance of this announcement, Concordia's ratings was one notch below that of McGill. So McGill was a AA2, Concordia was a AA3, so the fourth highest in our 21 rating scale. But still, as I said before, still high quality credit.
And what about those present tense ratings that those institutions have? How do they compare right now to what let's say down the 401 at Toronto's prestigious universities?
Well, the University of Toronto is one notch higher than McGill. It's a AA1. Gotcha. It has a quite strong strength as well. But then there are other universities in Toronto or in Ontario that are rated AA2, AA3, A1 as well. So we do have a range of ratings for the Canadian universities. But as I said, the AA2 is a strong rating, and even the AA3 is a strong rating as well for Concordia.
Michael, before I let you go, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think is really important for our audience to know?
Well, I think I just simply like to add, as I said, the review indicates that we're watching and we're waiting for a lot of information. The provincial announcement is one thing that we're waiting for, but also just simply the amount of uncertainty that remains out there. You mentioned at the top, how McGill is facing a 20% decline in applications. The question is, how do those applications still transform into offers? And then how do those offers transform into acceptances? There's still a lot of unknowns out there. And that's why this rating under review is so important, because there's just so much for us to analyze at this point.
Michael, we have to leave it there. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining the program.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
That's Michael Yake, Associate Managing Director at Moody's Canada.